All right. Well, this first video, guys, is 5 months old. It was posted in video react requests by the person who posted it. It's got good views, and it's titled "Stop Griefing in Defense of Care Bears, Removing Toxicity from Star Citizen." And you guys know how I feel about just generally PvP and people using the word griefing and things like toxicity and stuff like that out of context, I think. So I'm nervous about how this video is going to end up, but let's see what we got here.
There's been a pejorative word making the rounds in the community that I'd like to address. Care Bear has been around for ages in other communities, but we need to look at the way it is and can impact us in Star Citizen. This video will address that, among other less savory trends in the game. It's important and in
I can't unhear the music. Yeah, I can't unhear the music.
The best interest.
This is from the same guy that I use my background music for, so I like the song. I can't.
Of all citizens, that we promote a positive and welcoming community. We've seen in games like League of Legends and Call of Duty, where a toxic atmosphere is allowed to foment, that people leave the games and growth slows or even stops.
League of Legends is one of the largest gaming communities in the entire planet. There was a video posted by Croncy a while back, and he talked about, like, hey, I'm starting to notice toxicity in Gen Chat a lot more. That's really problematic. We should have some mod tools. We should be able to, kind of be able to report people, blah, blah, blah. And I agree with everything that he said, but I also agree that the fact that you're seeing more toxicity is the idea that the game is actually getting healthier because more players are playing it. It's obviously not a good thing to have toxicity in your Gen Chat, things like that. But I actually kind of took a, kind of spin on it, where, well, if you're seeing Gen Chat be more toxic, it most likely means because more people were playing. And I do think that that was the case. So, and I don't believe in this whole, we need to harbor the only positive, things in the community, right? Like, this is a PvP game. You are going to, there are winners and there are losers in this game, in a lot of engagements with other players, and toxicity is going to exist. And the thing is it exists on both sides.
For a game that is in its infancy, this is untenable.
The Care Bears are more toxic
for toxicity
than the griefers.
Are put off and less likely to become involved in the community, which means that they're much less likely to recruit their own social circle, and retention drops. Several things contribute to this toxicity.
I also don't enjoy these types of videos. And I make these types of videos sometimes too, and I try to catch myself and stop. The idea of you're advocating for the, like, as if you work there, right? Like, almost phrasing it and posing it as if you are in a meeting within the company, that, and you're trying to better the situation for the game. I just think we have to just talk about what's fun, what's not, and leave it at that. Like, I do think that there needs to be a disconnect between the player and the developer, and I feel like in Star Citizen it's such a blurry line between the two, and they love that about it, because it makes their player base feel connected. And
activity, trolling and griefing, lack of interest in helping new players, and gatekeeping. Negative player attitudes and insults bring down everyone, and it makes it more difficult to find common ground. There are always people who are less likable, and we can't remove them from the game.
I'm always going to be here. I know you all want me to leave. Just quit. Why haven't you left? If you don't like this game, just leave. Oh boy, that makes me just want to stay even longer, so you have to listen to me even more.
We may even occasionally be them from time to time, but it's important to reduce those instances, and while we all have bad days, it's in our best interest to control and neutralize the negative responses to them, lest the negativity grow and spread. The game is already relatively difficult to get started in. Just pay attention to the chat during free fly events, new user posts in groups, Reddit, and watch videos made by established gaming channels trying out the game. Some, actually a lot, of the tribal knowledge that we use on a daily basis to enjoy or even just mitigate frustration in game and that we take for granted are completely unknown to the wider population of new players. This is exacerbated by the fact that there isn't any semblance of a tutorial. To aid in this, there are several great videos by content creators such as Board Gamer, Avenger, Morphologist, Noobifier, Ollie, Level Cap, and these help new players. So even if we don't want to take the time to babysit, we can guide players to them. If we want to be more involved, we can offer specific help in chat, make our own videos, link to Spectrum and Reddit guides, etc. One of the most controversial parts of the game is centered around griefing and trolling. We can't even decide on a common definition, and this is where the Carebears come in. There are extremes on both sides, and I argue that each of these sides is very wrong.
Yeah,
we don't want an easy mode game with the ability to turn off combat or eliminate risk, because unless...
Who's we? Because I see posts like that nearly every day.
Unless there is difficulty, risk, and work involved, the value of gameplay is empty. PvP sliders are antithetical to the Star Citizen experience. At the same time, the idea that, quote, it's a PvP game, so any technically feasible gameplay is legitimate, should also be off the table. We already know that the crime stat system is arbitrary at best, and not a one of us with any significant playtime has escaped the wrath of a crime stat bug. There are also significant errors which allow players to escape a crime stat, or at least any meaningful crime stat, and literally get away with murder.
Until 318.
Incapacitating someone and dropping them with a tractor beam for a single example. The system is far from perfect, and while we can't always trust people to be their best selves, we can hold ourselves accountable to some sort of honor when making decisions about what kind of gameplay to engage in. Does the amount of time I'm investing in this activity correspond to the amount of time I'm costing other players? I'm looking at you, guy who nuked a ship meet.
Who cares how much time you're costing other players? Like, here's the thing about the ship meetup. That is not a community problem to resolve. That is a game development problem that resolves that. High-sec areas where you want to have meetups, like, I'm sorry, but you're always out right now in a place that is too dangerous. There's no way that the game should be this dangerous in every location. Every location. It's crazy. Ship meetups should be done on Terra. Ship meetups should be done in these locations that are safer. And I've been saying this for years, is like bringing up the ship meetup thing is just one of the things that drives me nuts, because they're both like the argument of this should not happen here. It goes both ways. It absolutely should be able to happen if you go to a place in the middle of nowhere where there's no one there to protect you. You want to have a ship meetup? Bring protection, right? Is one of the things that they'll say. I don't necessarily agree with that, because it's ridiculous to have somebody just sit there and wait for someone to come. But yeah, it's I don't know. I'm not about that at all. I think that you're playing a multiplayer game. People should be able to go and where they please for the most part. I do think that there should be some non-combative locations where people can meet up, hang out, players can get acquainted with the game and not have to deal with what's out there in the deep black, because we all know that that's really dangerous, right? It's tough. It's tough. Now, the other solid solution to this problem is something that they were working on and have gone basically ghosted it, is long-term reputation. Long-term reputation takes all your actions, and they don't just disappear when you go to Security Post Korea anymore. They stay with you. If you go to a system and you've blown up 15 ship meetups there, well, maybe security is going to be right on you instantly, right? Stanton is too much of the Wild West still. It's not really, it shouldn't be as much as it is, I think. but it is still too much of the Wild West. It goes both ways, too. You should not be able to go to Grimhex if you're a ship meetup guy, right? If you're a casual or whatever, a Care Bear, I think he called it, you shouldn't be able to go to Grimhex and get whatever's there, right? So it goes both ways, but it just comes down to, in my opinion, this is the developer's problem and not the community's problem. If you leave these doors open, people are going to walk through them. It is up to CIG to close certain doors without ruining the game.
If the crime stat and death of a spaceman systems were effectively implemented, would I engage in this activity? If the only reason you're doing something bad is for the lulz and because there are little to no consequences, is it ethical behavior? Is there actually any benefit for me other than ruining someone else's enjoyment of something that I enjoy? Will I gain money or items or non-schadenfreude enjoyment? Is there any challenge or skill or...
Does there need to be a reason to do it? Other than, I could do it. Right? That's the thing. You can't claim that Star Citizen is this wonderful, great sandbox, because I'm sure people defend it on this end all the time. And then when you get sand thrown on you, then it's all of a sudden, is this ethical? Did you have a reason to do that? Did you have all these other things did you come with your list of things that should allow me to shoot up your ship meetup? Bro, you're doing just as some sandboxy gameplay as anyone else. I just am not for that. I don't need to come with ethics and reasons for why I felt like blowing you up in a game that allows me to blow you up.
Other benefit to me? It's not that hard to shoot down a prospector. If not...
So? But it was funny to hear you cry about it and make a video, maybe, right? Like, that's sometimes one of the reasons why people do these things. Like, I'm trying not to be toxic towards this person's point of view, simply because, for the most part, I agree with him. There needs to be a place where these people can hang out. I just think that the energy is putting, and it's always pointed towards these people as if they're sociopaths and they're crazy people. Where the comments that come from the people at the ship meetups are really bad and sociopathic and you know, that kind of thing. It goes both ways. Again, I really want to point that out. I've seen horrible things said to somebody who killed someone else in the game, and I've seen people go around and kill people endlessly for no reason at all, right? Both are annoying and bad in their own way.
Not, then all you're accomplishing is wasting someone else's time, and time is money. You don't know...
Your time is Alpha UEC. Also... ship meetup people, are they really earning money in Star Citizen, or are they I've heard you can't do the 890 jump ship meetup unless you've actually purchased it. You like the in-game purchase doesn't count.
What they have going on in real life, how much gaming time they have, or how long it took them to set up.
Don't
you
care.
Don't know how new they are, or whether they even decided to back the game in the case of free fly events.
Don't care.
Well, it's certainly
why
not
does
your
any of that matter?
responsibility to make everyone happy. Do you really want to be the reason behind a person quitting or not even backing?
Don't care. Nope.
I would define griefing as intentionally preventing others from having fun with no personal incentive, repeatedly killing someone so they can't leave an area,
repeatedly killing someone so they can't leave an area, harassing them. These are griefing elements. Blowing up a ship meetup, not griefing.
Extortion, and then
it's sandbox. It's throwing sand.
Breaking the contract, you know, charging someone for safe passage and then killing them after they pay you.
What gives him the moral authority? Nothing. The one thing you have to understand is that when somebody posts on their channel, a lot of times it's like writing in your own diary. It's you just sharing your opinions, right? It's just you just putting yourself out there and what you feel like. You're not saying that you're the moral authority. What makes me the authority to say, don't care, that doesn't matter? Nothing. It's just me sharing my opinion. And you have to understand that that's all these people are doing. That's all I do. That's all anybody who posts a YouTube video does when it comes from like a context of like this, is we're all just talking and we're just putting it out there. And then we get feedback from you on what you think about it, right? I don't necessarily agree with the way he's framing this, while absolutely agreeing with the idea of we got to do something about people blowing up ship meetups. We got to do something about the Daymar rally always getting attacked. We got to do something about new players and where they go to learn the game, right? I agree. We all have to do something about that, except the people who have to do something about it are the developers, not the community.
Just because you define something as a, quote, legitimate game loop doesn't necessarily make it worth it in the long run.
Doesn't matter if it's worth it. If
Players
it's worth
who are
it to
invested
them,
in game
it's
loops
worth
outside
it.
combat are still a very important part of the community, and until the game increases the cost of griefing, I think we need to be especially conscious of whether or not we're contributing to the toxicity by enforcing our own definitions of, quote, fun or, quote, legitimate on the less combat inclined.
But at the same time, the less combat inclined force the words legitimate and worth it on the pirates as well. It goes both ways.
All I'm asking for is to consider treating other players as people, because they are.
This is a PvP game where you kill people. You can't look at them as people. Because then if you did, why none of us would shoot a gun, because none of us are this crazy. You know? Out of all the people in the Star Citizen community, how many do you think are actually to the level where they would do something like that in real life? 1, maybe 2? That's such a weird take.
The last pillar of toxicity is exclusivity and gatekeeping. Whether someone has invested $40 or $20,000, they're invested in the game just like you. Some people are playing on aging laptops, and some people are running $3,000 gaming monsters with Virpils and a cockpit setup.
And?
The game is already limited to a player base on PC only, and on top of that, the system requirements mean there's a higher than normal entry cap just to run the game, aside from time investment on learning how to play any of the games.
Yeah, so you should be an adult and learn how to take an L. If you spent fucking $6,000 on a gaming computer and a few $100s on some ships, you should be able to learn how to take an L when you lose.
Game loops, let alone master them.
You should be an adult.
Pushing players away by any means is bad for
instead of being toxic in Gen Chat when you get killed by somebody.
All of us, because it removes future funding from not only that individual, but also from anyone they would have recruited and their subsequent recruits down the line. We all love the game or we wouldn't be here, and I just want to ask everyone to consider how their actions reflect on the community and potentially affect the long-term success of this game as a whole before acting in a way that has minimal short-term benefits and long-term negative outcomes.
There's a whole nother way of looking at this too. I don't think it's becoming patronizing. Like, I see that in chat. I think he's saying, like, hey, just consider it because it does have these negative effects on the community. It absolutely does, right? So when you kill, everything that he's saying is true. If you kill a new player and ruin their experience, they may never come back. That's objectively true. It's objectively true. But again, whose job is it to protect them? Whose job of it is to create an experience that is good for everybody? Is it me? Is it you? It's them. It's the developer. That's whose job it is. It's only the developer's job, no one else. The community should be respectful to each other. I don't think we should, wish death on people that kill us in a video game. Right? But I also don't think that every action that we make in game, that, if I come across you, like, I'll give an example. Guy comes, med runner gear on. I don't think he was a med runner though. Comes and heals me. I want to do gun running in Star Citizen, right? So I have he's got a sniper rifle on his back. I want that sniper rifle. I really considered killing him, but I decided not to because he took his time out. He came and got me, right? We both had a good experience then. I could have had a better one. I decided not to. And the people with me were like, yeah, no, don't do it. So I said, okay, fine. Didn't do it. And guess what? He came and tried to help us again when we died later. So It's not like Sharkbites is wrong here. It just comes down to who are you directing the energy at, and it's not in the right place.
I welcome your input, and I look forward to thoughtful and respectful discussion, even if we don't agree. Please consider subscribing if you found this to be useful, as I'm making more content regularly. Also, consider following me on Twitch and helping me reach affiliate. Thank you all for taking your time to listen and give your feedback.
The video got a lot of views. I think it got like 8,000, something like that, but it did really well. And I don't know. I think he's in the right place, but I didn't know. I just don't know about the direction he's pointing. It's just, I don't think it's fair to have the players be held accountable by some silly reasoning. If it can be done, it will be done. And I was going to say something earlier, and I think this is a good way to end the video, is, well, when we find this in the alpha stages of the game, when we find players doing things that are detrimental for new players, for existing players, for ship meetups, then you start to be able to frame how you want the game to work and look, and all right, well, we need to clean this up. We need to close that loophole. We need to do this. Oh, that. Oh, this. Oh, that. And you know what's funny is one thing I'm finding is that the prison experience almost gets ignored because it's like, oh, well, they did bad things to get there, so who cares? Is almost what it feels like. Like, players in the community feel that way too. No one calls for prison to get fixed except for the people who go there all the time, right? So I think all this griefing, all these things that are problematic in the game right now, well, there's an opportunity for CIG to fix them, but it's up to who to fix them? CIG. So they got to do it, right? So it's still all the same things that I'm trying to say, but I would look at this more as an opportunity rather than all these problematic things that Sharkbite was pointing out. So that was that. And yeah, I can see sort of why there was a little bit of angst, anger towards this video in our Discord, but I don't think it was that bad.